Think about the last time you made coffee. Did you reach for a jar, unscrew the lid, and drop a spoonful of brown crystals into a mug? Or did you grind beans, boil water, and wait? Those two paths seem like simple choices, but here's something strange. One of them took about 100 years of industrial science and factory chemistry to produce, and most of us have absolutely no idea which one. Hi, and welcome back to Simple Things Analysis. Today we're looking at something sitting on almost every kitchen counter in the world: coffee. Specifically, we're asking one question that nobody really stops to think about. Between instant and brewed, which one is actually better? For your body, your taste, your wallet, and even the planet? Stick around, because the answer might genuinely surprise you. Let's go back to 1901. A Japanese-American chemist named Satoru Kato is standing at a world fair in Buffalo, New York, showing off something that looks like dark powder in a small jar. He stirs it into water, and within seconds, coffee. No fire, no grinding, no waiting. People at the fair didn't quite know what to make of it. A few years later, a man named George Washington, not the president, but an inventor living in Guatemala, noticed something odd. A fine crust of dried coffee kept forming on the rim of his silver coffee pot. That residue gave him an idea. By 1910, he'd turned that curious observation into the world's first commercially sold instant coffee brand. Then came World War II. Soldiers needed something fast, light, and reliable. Instant coffee became part of military rations. By the 1950s, it wasn't just a wartime necessity, it was in every grocery store on Earth. The jar you might have at home right now, it carries that entire history in it. Here's the part that most people never think about. Instant coffee isn't artificial. It starts the exact same way as brewed coffee. Real beans, real roasting, real brewing. The difference is what happens after. In a factory, those brewed batches go through one of two methods. The first is spray drying. Imagine blasting liquid coffee through a fine nozzle into a tall chamber filled with hot air blowing at around 200 degrees. Each tiny droplet dries mid-air before it even hits the ground. Fast, efficient, and the result is that fine powder you might recognize. The second method is freeze drying, and this is where it gets genuinely fascinating. The brewed coffee is frozen into solid slabs at -40 degrees. Those slabs are then shattered into chunks and placed in a vacuum chamber where something called sublimation happens, the ice skips being liquid entirely and turns straight into vapor. What's left behind are those chunky, glassy granules that higher-end instant coffees tend to have. Two completely different journeys to the same jar. And that difference actually matters for what lands in your cup. Let's be honest about taste. Brewed coffee, when done well, has a complexity that's hard to replicate. You can pick up fruity brightness, chocolatey depth, or that lingering caramel sweetness, depending on the bean and how it's roasted. There's a reason people dedicate serious time and equipment to getting it right. Instant coffee has historically had a reputation for tasting flat, and for many mass-market brands, that's still true. Some of the delicate aromatic compounds that make coffee smell and taste rich get damaged during the drying process, especially with spray drying. But here's the twist. That gap is closing. Premium freeze-dried instant coffees from brands investing in better sourcing and processing have started passing blind taste tests. Not every time, but often enough that the old idea of instant being automatically inferior no longer holds up the way it once did. The bean matters, the method matters, the price matters. Now here's where things get interesting from a health standpoint, and where a lot of common assumptions turn out to be wrong. Both types come from the same plant. Both contain antioxidants, specifically compounds called polyphenols that research has associated with reduced risks of type 2 diabetes, certain liver conditions, and even neurodegenerative diseases like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. That applies whether you brew it or dissolve it from a jar. The differences are real, but smaller than people expect. Brewed coffee does tend to carry slightly more antioxidants per cup. Some studies put the gap at around 10 to 15%. And it has more caffeine, typically anywhere between 95 and 120 milligrams per cup, compared to 60 to 80 in most instant versions. If you need a strong morning hit, brewed wins. If caffeine makes you jittery or disrupts your sleep, instant is actually the gentler option. One thing worth knowing: instant coffee contains marginally higher levels of acrylamide, a compound produced during roasting. It sounds alarming, but food safety authorities consistently confirm the amount in coffee, instant or brewed, falls well below any level of concern. So neither is secretly dangerous. Both are genuinely fine in moderation. Here's something that doesn't come up in most coffee conversations: digestion. A surprisingly large number of people experience stomach discomfort from coffee and just assume it's normal. Strong brewed coffee, particularly espresso and dark roasts made without a paper filter, carry certain natural oils called cafestol and kawol that can stimulate the digestive system quite aggressively. For someone with acid reflux, gastritis, or a sensitive gut, that morning cup of black brewed coffee on an empty stomach can be genuinely uncomfortable. Instant coffee, because of how it's processed, tends to have lower acidity and fewer of those irritating oils. For people who love coffee but find certain types hard on the stomach, switching to a quality instant can make a noticeable difference. This isn't widely discussed, but it explains why some people swear by one type without being able to explain exactly why. Their body is giving them a clear signal, they just haven't connected the dots yet. From a purely practical standpoint, instant coffee is almost absurdly cost-effective. We're talking roughly 5 to 10 cents per cup versus 20 to 30 cents when you brew at home, or several dollars at a cafe. No machine, no filters, no cleanup. Just boiling water and 30 seconds. Brewed coffee, especially when it involves equipment like an espresso machine or a quality grinder, carries significant upfront cost and ongoing maintenance. That's not a criticism. For many people, the ritual is part of the value, but it's worth being clear-eyed about what you're actually paying for. On the environmental side, the picture is more nuanced than people assume. Instant coffee has a smaller carbon footprint per serving according to several life cycle analyses. It's lighter to transport and generates less waste per cup. However, single-serve instant sachets wrapped in non-recyclable plastic can offset that advantage quickly. The greenest cup is usually a simple one: loose ground brewed coffee with a reusable filter, or a quality instant from a glass jar. So which one is better? After everything we've looked at, the history, the factory science, the flavor chemistry, the health data, the digestion, the cost, here's the honest answer. It depends on what you're optimizing for. Brewed coffee wins on flavor complexity, antioxidant content, caffeine strength, and the sensory experience of making it. If coffee is something you enjoy as a ritual, brewed is almost certainly the right choice. Instant coffee wins on convenience, cost, stomach gentleness, shelf life, and portability. If your mornings are chaos, if you travel a lot, or if your gut doesn't love strong coffee, instant is not a compromise, it's the smart call. The more interesting question isn't which one is better in the abstract. It's which one is right for where you are in your day. Maybe brewed on a slow weekend morning, maybe instant when the week is running faster than you are. That's the thing about simple things. Once you actually look at them, they stop being so simple. If you found this interesting, hit subscribe. We break down everyday objects and uncover the fascinating story behind them, right here on Simple Things Analysis. See you in the next one.